Hey folks, welcome. Here we discuss real stories by real people. Today we have the story of a man who meets his wife's boyfriend. Let's see how it goes. Story 1. I, 37 male, and my wife, 34, got married last July. Before then, we had discussed a lot of things, including what we didn't want marriage to rob us of. For me, it was my joy, while for her, it was her freedom to have fun. 3 months after our marriage, she joined a group she called SSH. She claimed it was a group of married people who wanted to be happy and maintain their fun lifestyle, and I believed it. I believed everything she told me because I was blinded by love. Traces of her infidelity were littered around, but I ignored them. She never posted our wedding pictures, and there wasn't a single picture of me on all her social media accounts. It was as if our marriage was a secret. She never brought anyone home except her family members. I once asked her about it, and she told me she would fix that in due time. Fast forward to the last day of 2022. We spent the morning cleaning up. Afterwards, she couldn't find her phone. I rang her phone, and when I found it, I saw that my number was still saved with my first name. I asked her why she hadn't modified or changed it to something cute, and she accused me of being petty and insecure. Last Tuesday, she left home to hang out with the SSH group and didn't return that night. I was worried sick because she wasn't picking up my calls. I called her father to ask for her whereabouts, but he didn't know either. Early the next morning, I received a call from her, and when I picked up demanding for her whereabouts, a man apologized. My heart started thudding as I wondered what was going on. He asked me who I was, and I said I was her brother. He introduced himself as her boyfriend and asked me for her home address. I wanted to see them both together to believe my wife was cheating on me. They arrived at a little past 6 a.m. with my wife asleep and reeking of alcohol. He told me she had so many drinks. After I carried her up to her room, I invited him for coffee. I interrogated him about his relationship with my wife, and he told me everything I needed to know. The group my wife belonged to was a singles group where they had fun. He met my wife there. The problem was, he fell for my wife and they both decided to make it a serious relationship. But my wife refused to introduce him to her family and friends. He dumped all this information on me thinking I was her brother. I asked him if he wanted to speak with her father, and he nodded affirmatively. I gave my father-in-law a quick call, and when he picked up, I gave the phone to my wife's boyfriend who introduced himself, and was met with a shun. The phone was on speaker, so I heard my father-in-law tell him his daughter was married to me. By the time he hung up, the poor man looked broken. His reaction mirrored my feelings, and it was so painful to watch. I went up and packed as many of my clothes because I knew I would not return. Not to the house, nor to my wife. I was done with her, and nothing could change that. Update. 3 days after I left the house, I was called to the police station because my wife was temporarily detained and awaiting a hearing. Her boyfriend was also detained. He had gone to our house to confront her for cheating on him, and she lashed out at him for coming to her home. She started throwing things at him, and he got mad. I don't know what happened, but they trashed the house and were very noisy. The neighbors called the police, who came and picked them up. I confronted my wife about my findings. She looked distraught as she told me she already got her father's message in which he called her useless and warned her to stay away from him. She tried to convince me that she had no relationship with her boyfriend. She told me she didn't even know who he was. She begged me to help her make her father believe her because she was all he had. She didn't apologize to me, it was all about herself. I told her it was not my business and she should expect the divorce papers from my lawyer. I feel broken, and most days I don't even have the energy to get out of bed. What has my life become? I'm sorry your STBXW turned out to be like this, OP. She never should have gotten married. That way she could enjoy her single life and have fun with as many people as she wanted to. But no, she had to get married. She had to hurt you because she's greedy and selfish. The only person she cares about is herself, and it's obvious. She didn't even offer you a genuine apology. She also denied the boyfriend. I bet he's also feeling betrayed and heartbroken. Your life has become great, OP. Without a cheater like your STBXW in your life, you're now free to live life. Get a new hobby, distract yourself, and go to the gym. Meet new people. Time will make it all better. It'll hurt less soon enough. Story 2. I'm 29 male and until last week was dating a 27 female for 3.5 years. We were living together for a year and I was thinking about proposing. She went away on business and took a side holiday where she stayed at a youth hostel. The first night there, she got drinking with some folks our age. Allegedly, the next thing she remembers after laughing and having a good time at the bar is waking up the next morning in her room naked with one of the dudes beside her. His arms were around her, which makes me more sick than the fact that they did indeed have sex and the condom broke. She called me long distance a day and a half later crying to tell me the news. I do believe her story, maybe naively. I have to say, I love her even more for her honesty. But I lost my shit a little bit and ended the relationship right there. I started moving her stuff out the day after. She flew home early because of all this, pleading with me not to leave. I've always been a person that said if someone cheats on me, it's over immediately, hence my reaction. But this situation is a lot more of a gray area. Did she cheat on me? Or was this all a horrible mistake? She was on some pretty heavy medication that didn't mix well with booze, and it had been making her act like a retard for about 2 months. She is supremely sorry and seeking help for her crazy behavior, but I don't know if I can get past this. She effing cheated on me penis and vagina style. For me, that's what it comes down to. Another argument I've been going over in my head is, even if she doesn't remember and wasn't fully in control of her actions, she still had to get into a situation where she's alone with the guy, brought him back to her room, invited him in, undressed, and, well, it gets worse from there. I just can't fathom being in a situation like that. For me, I have a girlfriend, warning bells would be going off like crazy, no matter how blitzed I am. I've just never heard of this happening to anyone. And yet, I have no experience in this situation, and I wonder if technically she was raped. So this poor confused soul is seeking the wisdom of the Reddits, not expecting a solution to my problem, but perhaps more clarity on the matter. Thanks for listening. I'm sorry this happened to you, OP. I can't imagine how many emotions you must be feeling right now. The good thing is she confessed, right? But the bad about that is how much of what she's saying is true. Maybe she just felt so guilty and she had to let it out. I don't exactly know what went down with her, but right now the problem isn't about you believing her or not. It's about you debating if this counts as cheating or not. Cheating is a deal breaker for you. If this feels like cheating to you, then end it. Your girlfriend is sorry, but this isn't about her. It's about how you feel. If you think you can get past it, then great. If you can't, that's also great. Now for some comments. Being drunk can cause you to make stupid decisions like thinking that you can climb a rock face or thinking you can do a kickflip 180 on a skateboard. It doesn't make you stick someone else's dick in your vagina. After being in a relationship for 3.5 years, no amount of alcohol can drive a person to do that unless they choose to. There are about 800 different moments leading up to sex that trigger all kinds of I might have sex soon mechanisms that should lead even the drunkest of SOs to rethink what they're doing. She cheated. Yes, it's another one of those I was drunk, I don't remember, it was a mistake cheat threads. Odds are she knew what she was doing. The booze loosened her inhibitions. She did it now, she feels guilty, so she told you. She fed you the other stuff to try and A, keep you around, B, to mitigate her own guilt. Come on, OP, since you're here, you must have perused this subreddit before. How many times has she cheated but she was drunk and doesn't really remember threads there have been? Dozens. There have been dozens of these, and odds are just like those, she knew what she was doing at the time. Booze does not make you do things you don't want to do, it just makes it easier. Dude, she put herself in a situation where shit could have happened and then allowed it to happen. Sure, you can excuse each part independently, but the two happened together and on the first night. I bet part of the reason you're losing it is that deep inside, you probably knew this was going to happen. And you're upset for letting it get this far. It's okay, dude. We all make mistakes. Learn and move on. And yeah, dump here. You deserve better after a 3.5-year investment. And 3.5 years is nothing compared to 10, 15 plus years that others face. You're 29. You have lots of dating stock left. Use it. Story 3. I, 33 male, and my wife, 32, have been married for 4 years. We had already been through some issues and done a year of marriage counseling in 2017. However, things were picking up and we got a house in 2018 and also had our first child. Late last year, my friend Greg needed a place to stay or would be homeless. So we let him rent out our spare bedroom. He's been in and out of jobs, but always good about pitching in, doing some chores, buying us groceries, etc. In the last few months, I felt things getting more distant between me and my wife. That, along with work pressure, bills, house projects, our baby, and now quarantine, all exploded on Easter Sunday when she told me while sitting in bed that she wasn't in love with me anymore. I didn't make her happy. She didn't know if we would work out. I was stunned, sick to my stomach. I think we both cried all night. The next few days, she refused to barely look at me and much less hug me or anything. Usually our fights or issues would resolve in a day or two, but this just wasn't getting any better. I decided to ask Greg to move out, as each day we had had arguments and it was hell with us all three quarantined together, me trying to work from home in the middle of it. Then on Thursday of that week, after seeing her therapist, she tells me on the phone that she's suicidal and checks into a mental hospital. I take care of our kiddo, bills, managed to clean the house up after our roommate moved out, basically juggled it all until she was released to come back home. When she gets back, I notice nothing is better around me. Snippy, dismissive, unloving. But I'll hear her talking to several guy friends on the phone where she sounds flirty and funny. She made a guy friend while in the mental hospital, and one conversation I overheard involved them joking about hand jobs. I asked her about this, and she said he was just her support partner. I told her that I wished I was her support, and she didn't say anything. She was going to hang out with this man on a walk, but decided not to when I said that it seemed weird, which I was thankful for. Still, her odd behavior continued. She then seemed to talk about her old roommate Greg daily, and she would duck out to the bathroom with the fan on to do so one time even. Also, she wrote in her diary constantly, so I peeked at it while she was gone one day. And the newest entry was a 2-page diatribe about her undying love for Greg, about how much she wanted him, blah blah. I texted a mutual friend of Greg and mine about it because I was so shocked. He suggested I confront Greg. So I texted Greg, "Did you ever do anything inappropriate with my wife?" He actually had the balls to call me and said that I had been working too much, I was out of shape, a bad husband, and that yes, they kissed but didn't have sex. Later that night, I confronted my wife and asked her if it was true. She said it was, and we both just kinda sat there. I told her I had a hunch something was up, but didn't admit to reading her diary. Then a few days later, she asks if I had read it. I shook my head no, but didn't say anything. She then says she knows I did because she went through my phone and saw my texts with my friend. We both flipped out on each other and she left to go to her friend's house. That was in May. She moved out for a month, but I decided to let her move back, and now we're in marriage counseling. Not sure what the future holds. Now for some comments. She told you she was not in love with you anymore. That's the deal breaker for her. Those words can never be taken back. You deserve happiness. Let her go. There's not one good thing I can say about your wife. I only hope your path leads to happiness, but I personally don't see it happening with her. I've seen so many men get cheated on because they were helping a friend out and let them move in. You were working a lot, and when your wife complained to Greg, he reinforced her thoughts and turned her against you. Greg is a piece of crap and was never your friend. He used you. Your wife is weak and self-centered. She cared about herself and not you. She had issues, and instead of talking to you, she shared with Greg. I'd be willing to bet that they did much more than kiss. Guaranteed they had sex. You tell this long story about how your wife loves Greg, not you, and nothing has changed unless you omitted it. Is that correct? She still does not love you? Does she still love Greg? I understand she's the mother of your kids. Financial convenience. I guess she wore out her welcome with the ones who took her in. But what's your plan? What about your wife's plan? Do you intend to live without being in love until money comes? There is a cliche, hope is not a plan. It's okay to not know what to do, but not forever. Her return was a mistake. Kick her out again. She is a cheater and a broken person. She already checked out of the relationship.